So we must try harder to speak Finnish to you. I believe, maybe.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Puhutaanko suomea nyt?
Pieni ihminen suuressa mukana.
Tervetuloa kuuntelemaan Pieni ihminen suuressa mukana podcastia. Minä olen Daniel Nummela, tämän ohjelman isäntä, ja tänään meillä onkin erityinen jakso. Me teemme jakson tästä eteenpäin nyt englanniksi. Welcome to this podcast, Nader and Nazanin. You have moved to Finland about 2 years ago. And today we will discuss together about your experiences on this subject. And then I have also my regular guest, Mika Järvinen. Tervetuloa. Welcome.
Kiitos. Moi.
Yes, I was thinking about the episode today and then I thought that in the Bible, there are many places when someone is called to move to somewhere. And I believe that maybe the most known place is on Genesis, in the chapter 12, where God is calling Abraham to move. And I will read this as a start from the first passage. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing." Of course, this is very high point of God's plan to save his people, but I believe that we all have our story, that how we are traveled to the point we are living at today. So I want to ask you, Nader and Nazanin, how it happened that you moved to Finland. What was the process?
First of all, kiitos paljon for inviting us.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for inviting us.
You want to start?
Yeah, why not? So it was mainly because Nader, due to nature of his work, he had to travel a lot to Finland and other European countries because we have partner studios here. And we work with Sat7, and then Nader is a producer, so he had to travel to these countries to use the studios to produce programs. And so the trips from Cyprus to these European countries was quite challenging, like long connections, sometimes the flights were cancelled and long hours in the airport. So it was quite frustrating sometimes. And so from the very beginning that Nader was coming to Finland, he loved Finland. And every time he came back, he was telling me how peaceful and beautiful Finland is and how people are so kind. And so eventually we thought, okay, why not move here? And as you mentioned, Daniel, that we really felt like God is calling us, like it's a new season that God is leading us into. So, Nader, if you want to add.
Yeah. Basically, in echoing what Nazanin said, yes, I was traveling a lot to Finland, like almost for 10 years. I traveled back and forth to Finland, and sometimes our colleagues here, they said, you literally live here. Why do you want to go back? So I think it was mainly God's calling, because God put especially my path in a way. He sorted everything in a way that it was like he wanted us to move here. And it wasn't, it didn't even come to our mind that should we move to Finland or not, because I lived in Cyprus since 2003. So imagine it was a long time. I was already kind of integrated in the society. But then suddenly one of the colleagues here, he said, actually, I suggest you to move to Finland due to situation that you have. It would be much better for you and your work to be in Finland, because we have many Iranians and Afghans in Finland and Nordic areas, and you are very close to Central Europe rather than being in Cyprus. So it was so serious suggestion. I shared it with Nazanin, my wife, and she said, let's think about it. And since I had a lot of experience coming to Finland, I'd never lived in Finland, but I knew that Finland has kind of really smooth way of rules and regulations, so it wouldn't be very much difficult in terms of the governmental paperwork. So that was our calling from God to move here.
Nazanin said that you loved Finland when you visited here. Was it love by the first time you visited here?
I guess yes. The reason maybe was the winter. First time I traveled here, I'm very bad in hot weather, warm weather. So it's kind of poison for me, the warm weather. I don't function well. When I came first time travel to Finland, it was very kind of different feeling, because in my home country area, the area I lived, we had harsh winter. So kind of the winter here first time gave me the feeling of I'm home again. It is the same feeling, like I can walk on the snow, I can see the dark clouds snowing, and everything was again went back to my childhood time when we used to go to school in the snow.
So you are
So that was
originally from Iran, if
Yes,
I correctly
yes.
understood. So there is snow at winter time.
It depends where you live in Iran. Iran is very big country.
Okay.
Very big country. I am coming from northwest, which is called the province, not the state, not the country, Azerbaijan.
Okay.
It is West Azerbaijan, and we are a neighbor with Turkey from west, and from the north we are with Armenia and Azerbaijan, the country. So we have mountains, we have real winter, and but she's coming from different area.
Yes, my city is like north of Iran, which is like a coastal city by Caspian Sea. So we had we never had snow like Nader's area. So, and I've never actually lived in a cold country, in a cold place. So coming to Finland, living here was a new experience for me. And at the beginning, it was a bit challenging. We arrived in February 2024, and so it was kind of in the middle of winter, and I didn't know what to expect and how I will cope with the situation. But since Nader was experienced, and he told me that if you dress properly, you won't feel that cold. So that helped really, and and every winter I'm getting more used to it, I think.
So if we speak about nature, it sounds that it's more familiar than you would expect, because as a Finnish, when I think about Iran, I don't think about snow and that kind of thing. But that shows that I don't understand too well what kind of country it is. But it's more like what you, Nazanin, explained. That's my image about how it's to live in Iran, but as Nader, you explained, it's very big country and there are different kind of places. But if we think about nature was one of my themes. I thought that I would like to discuss.
Really Finnish tea.
Yeah, and I believe it's very like whenever you move to some other country, nature is something you should discuss about. So. Otherwise, we have been discussing about the temperature. But otherwise, how have you feel the differences and similarities about the nature in your home country, and you can also compare to the Cyprus where you used to live also many years.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment that we arrived to Finland, I was really amazed by these vast forests and all covered in snow and wide roads as well. So it was completely surreal for me. I've never seen such scenery before. So it was really beautiful, for me. And what I really love about Finland is actually the nature and how people respect the nature. And also you can find even in the middle of cities there are forests, and so you always feel close to nature. And I think there is also a saying in Finland that say, we take care of the nature or forest, and then the forest takes care of us. So it's really beautiful, and I think also if we want to look it from a Christian perspective, also it's because God told us that we are keepers of the nature that He created. So it's really beautiful to see that here people really respect this, and how close you are with the nature. So yeah.
How about you, Nader?
Yes, from my experience that I had in my home country, we had a lot of mountains. Mountain that has all year long snow. So it's like you can always ski there any time of the. And I don't know now, but I'm talking about 25 years ago. So in that perspective, it was kind of connecting me to my home country. And my nature is, I don't know, because I grown up in the summer times with my grandfather to go to the forest and do some works in the gardens and things. But I love forest. I love nature a lot. I mean, it's the peace that gives to me. It's uncomparable to anything. So when we are overloaded with something, we sometimes go to the forest near our house or anywhere. And as we learned it from you Finnish people, we hug trees. So it really gives the good feeling. But I cannot compare the nature here with Cyprus, because that's totally different environment in Cyprus. Cyprus is a small island where it has big mountains, and also from all around is connected to Mediterranean Sea. And as we know, the climate there is quite long summer. You can call long summer. And the winter, you don't see snow except if you go to the mountains. You don't see in the cities. So the forest is beautiful there. It's not. It's different kind of nature. But for me, the temperature and also the climate here is much more compatible with my with my default version of body, I can say.
Okay. The second theme I thought that we should discuss today was about the language. Because when you go to, I have lived some years in Japan, where the language is totally different than here in Finland, and you have lived first at Cyprus and then now in Finland. So how have you felt about the language, new language? Have you learned some words? I understand that you can say like terve and kiitos, but how about deeper level? Have you studied Finnish, and how do you feel the language here in Finland?
Yeah, Finnish language is, first of all, this is, for me personally, Finnish language is the seventh language that I'm learning, apart from after my mother tongue and then national language. My mother tongue is Azerbaijani, but our national language is Farsi. So I speak different language with my family, parents, and different language with my wife. And when we moved to Finland, we had very little understanding of the language, Finnish language. And in the beginning, we tried to register online courses. and we tried it for a couple of months, maybe. But it was quite difficult for us to keep on going online because it wasn't regular. It was jumping from here to there. So we stopped it for a while until we came across, and we were searching to find where we can find to learn Finnish language after work, because most of the classes are during the day. So we came across that there is a beautiful system here that every city has its own municipalities, services for language, for learning things, and everything. So I searched on the municipality of Järvenpää, the websites, and I realized there are some courses with a very little kind of cost. So we registered. This course started from August, right? Or September. It started from the September. And actually, this is a physical kind of. We go to the class, we attend the class, and there are other students and at the school, and we started learning. But it still is difficult for us to communicate properly, to put every words next to each other and make a sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. It's not an easy language, and it's not similar to any other language that we've heard before, because we were learning also French for a while, and that was closer to, like, some words were closer to English, and we had some similar words in Farsi, so that was easier, let's say. But Finnish is a bit more like unique language, and and since we both work full time, it's difficult to set a time to practice, because practice is very important, and it's a bit challenging at the moment. But yeah, as Nader said, we are going to classes after work, and the good thing is that almost everyone speaks English, very good English here in Finland, so we don't have an issue communicating, in everyday life. But it's definitely, we would love to learn the language to integrate better to the society and the communities.
I think I will add something to this, because it was a really good point about integrating. In my experience personally, I've heard from someone telling me that every language is a nation. The more language you know, more nation you are connected. So for us, learning the local language in where we are living is very important, because it's different to communicate and tell your feelings and be understood with English rather than saying it in the local language, because that's totally different. You can understand, they give the feeling the way that the person receives it with the local language, the mother tongue.
How you feel if you are with your friends and you talk English with them, but then they partly still talk in Finnish, or try to even teach you some Finnish words?
I think it's actually good. I mean, because you try to understand, and it's helping. For me, I don't think it makes you feel left out, but you can probably say better.
In my experience, because I don't want to compare with other countries, but I have experienced this in different way. Before answering your question, I experienced in a way that when I was learning other language in another country, sometimes, most of the time, in the groups that I was there and they knew I don't know the language, they would deliberately ignore me and they keep talking their own language, although they could speak English. So they deliberately could. But here, the experience is different. Actually, as Nazanin said, we like to hear people speaking next to us Finnish language, so that helps us to learn the spoken Finnish. And in my experience with friends, they always try to speak English, and I sometimes ask them, please speak to each other Finnish when you are not speaking to me, so I can make sense of the conversation. So in that way, actually, it's good to hear people around me speaking Finnish.
as I used to live in Japan, I think that this is also something which is a kind of problem. I have some people I have known who has lived over 30 years in Finland, but they still don't speak Finnish because everyone speaks English to them all the time. and you can survive in Finland quite well only speaking English because at least to some point almost everyone speak English. So, but in reality, maybe the best way to learn a new language is to speak and listen to the local people speaking their own language. So we must try harder to speak Finnish to you. I believe maybe.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Puhutaanko suomea nyt?
Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the third theme. The language and nature we have been discussing about. And then the third one is the culture. And I heard something already. We heard from you that there are something to, could we say, maybe almost admire in Finnish culture, that there are some positive things. But and you came with quite high expectations when you moved to Finland. But in reality, how has you been feeling to live inside this culture now almost 2 years?
Well, I turned the microphone to you because basically I traveled a lot to Finland, so I had a kind of understanding of how Finnish culture works in most ways. Although I never lived, but now that we live for almost 2 years in Finland, we have some cultural shocks. Most of them, almost all of them, positive shocks, and they are beautiful actually. But I can't remember any negative shock here. But we think we didn't have high expectation, to be honest with you, because we moved from Iran to Cyprus, which in that time I had high expectations. And then gradually I realized that this is not true. This is the reality is different. And then we moved for almost 2 years to France, and we had some cultural shocks there also. It was much better. And then moved back to Cyprus, and then we moved here. I actually created a good imagination for Nazanin because every time I traveled back, she said, you look very peaceful and calm when you come back. I said, I don't know, I feel better because of the nature, because how the people treat you, behave with you. So maybe you had high expectation or...
Yeah, but what you explained to me and the imagination was mostly true.
Mostly.
The biggest surprise... Yes. Okay, I've heard that Finnish people are probably very quiet, very reserved, distant a little bit, which is true to some extent. But we also experienced that, we were going out on picnic sometimes to the nature, and people who were passing by the campfire place, sometimes would sit there and would start conversation with us, and they were very friendly, and they would suggest other places to us, to visit. So I was quite surprised. I didn't expect anyone to start conversation with us, based on what I've heard about Finnish people. So it, although I can understand that, I don't know, it's because of the culture, people are a bit distant probably, but it's not that much. Especially when they feel that they can trust you, then they are quite, friendly and honest. So that's really that was a shock for me. And the other thing was that, especially like in winter, in heavy snow and, in harsh weather, I could see that people are walking in the snow, riding a bicycle to work or to school. And it was really like surprising for me that, the life goes on as normal, even though the weather is, quite harsh and, difficult, at least for me. But also the system, because the roads are cleaned regularly, and it's so easy for people to continue with their normal life and work. So that was really a surprise, and of course the sauna culture was really. So that was also really nice to see that there's a sauna in every home, and that was really nice.
Do you have you went to the local public swimming hall?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Okay.
We have in our plans. We will do
Okay.
that.
We're
Yes.
planning.
Yes. One thing that Nazanin mentioned, it's very highlighted for me in Finland during my traveling to Finland and mostly Nordic countries, is that I realized from where I'm coming from, Iran, Cyprus also is the same culture. People don't trust you with the first when they first meet you, no matter workplace, a friend, or whatever. They don't trust you at the first. You have to build the trust gradually, and then you can become a trusted person to each other or not. But my experience was different in Nordic countries, especially in Finland. I realized in Finland, people trust you in the beginning until you show them that they cannot trust you anymore. So it's a reverse where they trust you from the beginning. I heard from someone saying, I don't have any reason not to trust you. You have to give me a reason to not trust you. But in our culture, it's different. Even when we Iranians gather, first time we see each other, by default, we don't trust each other. We have to build. We have to know each other more and more. It might take maybe even 10 years, 20 years to trust each other sometimes. But that was one of the cultural shocks for us.
Positive culture shock.
Positive.
Okay, my fourth of these 5 themes was the relationship to other people. We have been already discussing about this quite a lot, but also from the viewpoint of the relatives we have, the people who are bloodly related to us. And when you move to abroad, those relationships, they also changes in many ways. And then also the relationship to the friends who continues to live the country we left behind. How you have been living in many countries, so how have you find about these questions to the relationship to your friends and your relatives?
Well, Nazanin wants me to first answer this. It's tosi hyvä kysymys. Actually, it is for me personally that I lived for 22 years now, almost abroad, out of my home country. In the beginning, and still, it's difficult to know that you're not going to visit your some of family members, or you are not going to see your friends, your home city. That's very difficult because it's true that we cannot visit again, at least until now. So, but leaving a country and moving to another country for good, you are right. We realize that you lose some friends, you lose some people who cannot be your friends in distance. It doesn't work for them. For some people, it works because for some reason, they keep connecting and they want to see you, they want to talk to you. But most of them, I think, it has been more than a year. We haven't talked with my best friend in Cyprus. When we went together to university, we finished university together. We have been in touch almost every week, but we lost connection because of the distance. So, but the positive thing here is that we found new friends like Jurvis. And it was it is good experience for me personally, knowing new cultures, because for me, in my experience in different countries, is that if you want to know the culture better, you need to hang out with the locals. If you hang out with the locals, you know what's the culture, you know what they eat, you know how they talk, you know where they go. And in this way, you integrate yourself to the society, rather than trying to find only Iranians, trying to find those who are not from this country. So you say, okay, I cannot integrate with them because I need to speak to my own people. So that way you will never integrate, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nader, and I think usually on distance, and when you're not in that country anymore, it's difficult to keep those relationships, especially it depends on how close you are with some people. But that has been our experience so far, as Nader explained. But we are finding new communities, new friends here, and that was really a blessing for us. And when, of course, you're in a new environment, it is difficult, it is challenging at the beginning, but also your faith becomes more personal and more real. And we've learned to rely on God, and He's opening new doors for us, and new opportunities, new friends. So that has been really, really wonderful.
So what would you say to Finnish people? What they should what they should think about when they meet people who have moved to Finland?
It's a difficult question to answer. Why? Because from my perspective, is that depends the person, how he or she moved to Finland, why he or she moved to Finland, the reason behind it, and from which country they moved. If it's visible, they know it. Depends. For example, if for the first time I go to, let's say, I'm just giving an example. If I go to a supermarket that somebody doesn't know me, a Finnish person doesn't know me, probably, maybe from my outlook, they would say, oh, he's from Middle East. And probably they'll say, oh, maybe he's a refugee. Maybe he's, dependent on the government or something. Or if I meet someone in FLM, you wouldn't think like that, because you already have understanding that if he's coming to FLM here, there is a reason behind it. He's connected to Christian community, and he's coming from, he lived in Cyprus already, whatever. And that's a different kind of, building up. It depends. You can't, I don't know. I don't have the straight answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, as Nader explained, it's not an easy answer. Because usually, I mean, we've never had a bad experience here in Finland. Like, when communicating with people, we've never seen any bad behavior, and we have been actually blessed to move here with work. So, but I know that some people are not so. It's not so easy for them to find work, or some immigrants, until they can learn the language and find a job. It's not that easy. But as far as I know, the government, they are very supportive, so they are helping people. It's not easy, but I think that Finnish people, they understand. I've never seen any kind of like racist kind of behavior, thank God. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We are happy to hear that you have not met any racist behavior. You, Nazanin, you led us to the fifth and the final theme of this discussion today. Namely, it is about the faith and the religion and the religional situation in the country you are living now. As we all know, Finland is a Christian country, but very secularized country also. But still, about 60% of Finnish people are at least namely Christians, even today. And then there are some many more Muslims also today because of the immigration, and so if you compare this, I believe that we could say that at least as my image, Iran is a Muslim country, and then Cyprus is quite divided maybe. But how have you felt when you moved to Finland? Did you expect it to be like you have seen it to be, or more Christian or more secularized? Or what was your expectations about this kind of situation? Of course, concerning this, also Nader also already knowed quite many things about Finland. But how has it been in reality for you?
Yes, as you said, as you mentioned, in Iran, it's Muslim. It's a Muslim country. So, and as a woman, as a girl, because I moved to Cyprus when I was 24, so it was always difficult for me, the situation, the society, you know, the patriarch society, the men-dominated society, where women are not valued, and you know. So I always felt very insecure when I was going outside home. I didn't know if someone going to bother me in the street, you know, because of my hijab. Maybe they would, morality police might say something to me. So it was always so much tension. But in Cyprus, yes, I mean, it's mainly Orthodox, and actually we got baptized in an Orthodox church in Cyprus in 2012. So that was okay. Yeah, it was mainly a Christian society. And shortly after we got baptized, we started working with Sat7, which is a Christian television ministry, media ministry. And since we moved to Finland, because of our work, we were also still in Christian communities. We were very much involved with Christian organizations, different Christian organizations. So we kind of stayed in that community. But yeah, I mean, especially recently, we started attending Lutheran church services in Järvenpää, and we are really enjoying those services. And yeah, and I see that how many young people actually attending the church, which is really inspiring, encouraging for me to see that so many young people from the young generation, they are attending church services and, you know, in the choir. So it's really beautiful, and also seeing how much women are valued in these societies. That's really inspiring for me, and I really pray for that. I really pray that God would bring the same thing to Iran and Afghanistan, where women are so oppressed and so in such a difficult situation. So yeah, I mean, that's really my prayer for these countries.
From my perspective, Daniel and Jurvis, it's very important question you asked, because that there was a theme that still I'm thinking about it, to produce a program about it, long-going program for Farsi-speaking communities, Iran and Afghanistan. As Nazanin said, the pressures and everything, that's because of the here I have to be careful. I'm not trying to attack other religions, but that culture is because of the Islamic culture. It's which embedded in the society. And one of the books I read, thankfully, many years ago, early days when I started university, it was from Max Weber, the connection between the capitalism and the Protestant church. How Protestant culture, a belief, led societies to grow in the financial terms. So that was a vague thing for me. I couldn't understand very well how it could work. But today that I'm sitting here, and your question gave me this again, brought it up, that in societies like Finland, although you call it, some people are secular, but the Christian culture is, I believe, embedded to their culture. The way they behave, for example, even in someone who doesn't believe in Christianity, he doesn't or she doesn't go to the church, but when she goes to work, she respects the time, hours, everything, the work, and truly tries to respectfully work and behave in the society, mainly. So, and this is coming from Christian culture, because these were taught at the church. These were taught in Christian culture, which this wasn't taught in other religions that we are coming from. Cyprus is divided, yes, but we never visited the north, because that's a very small part of 1/3 of the Cyprus. The rest of them were Orthodox believers, yeah.
So it has been very interesting to hear about your experiences, and it's good to hear that they have been mainly very positive. That you don't have almost anything to complain, or maybe you have, but you are so respectful that you don't want to tell us anything negative. But anyhow, I believe that you have been experiencing this move to Finland quite positively.
Or do we have to do another part with negative things only?
But related to these 5 themes we were discussing today: the language, the culture, the nature, the relationship with the people, and the religion. Which has been the thing you have been discussing mostly with each other? Which has been the subject of between two of you at your home and your discussions to get used to live in Finland? Or is there something else we have not bring up today which is more urgent for you?
Well,
I think mainly we talk about nature, how much we love the nature here, but also how important it is to learn the language. So these are the most topics that we talk about usually at home.
one of the things, apart from that, we always comment about it, is that how the system post-government and everything works here is totally different experience that we have that in Cyprus. We applied for ID card, and before we arrive home, when we joke about it, before we get home, the SMS was there that you're gonna receive it at the post. So it was so quick and on time, everything, that you can trust and say the system works in a way that they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, we had a different experience when you apply for something, or if you have a post or something, it delays a lot that you sometimes forget that even you applied for something. Yeah. So this is something we always...
Everything is so high tech, like everything is done online, and you don't need to, go in person to different, governmental offices. So everything is done online. That's really efficient and easy. So that's really a good thing.
Yeah,
and those are things that we Finnish sometimes are whining for.
Sometimes, if you want to speak for a person, then you only have this bot on the internet. but yeah, we should appreciate more about the society and everything, which works very smoothly if you compare to many countries. I'm very happy that you have moved to Finland, and we are happy here to hear that you have been also enjoying your time this far in Finland, and we are praying that the coming years will also be blessed. And maybe we can end with the prayer. Can I ask you, Nader, to pray in the end of this?
Yes, sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to gather here, although online, but to see Daniel and Jurvis, and together with my wife Nazanin, to giving us this opportunity to talk about what you did in our life and how you put everything in order to bring us here. We don't know your plans, but we trust that you have plans. And I pray today for Daniel and Jurvis for the rest of their day, whatever they are going to do for this week ahead, any project, everything in your hands. And we trust that you lead us to a right place, and you always help us and stand behind us to not fall. Heavenly Father, thank you. And I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Ja ensi kerralla sitten suomeksi, eikö vain?
Next time he proposes that we should do it in Finnish. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Kiitos paljon.
And also for the listeners on the internet or whichever way you are listening this podcast, thank you for listening this episode, and welcome to listen to the next episode in the few weeks.
Ensi kerralla suomeksi.
Bye bye.